We are gardening for many different reasons. For some, it's a way to provide healthy, organic food for the family. For others, it's a way to connect with nature or find peace for their soul, or to simply balance busy life. Gardening has many benefits, but sometimes we make mistakes that disappoint us and may even stop some people from continuing their gardening journey. But mistakes are very important. Because of them we learn and become better in what we are doing. I call them lessons. And today I would like to share with you 7 lessons I had learned through mistakes I made in my garden in the past. And the first lesson is patience. Seeds need time to sprout, and if you don't wait long enough and plant more seeds in the same spot, then you'll end up having 2 different plants in the same cup. Like what happened with me over here, I have flax and Malabar spinach growing together, and I couldn't separate them because I didn't want to damage roots, so I planted them together in the garden, but flax never made it. I had beautiful Malabar spinach though. Lesson number 2 is overseeding. Overseeding is never a good idea, and even though sometimes you can get away with it if you plant leafy greens, because you can just pull them out and add them to your salads, but things like root vegetables are not going to grow well if you overseed. So for example, if you plant radishes, make sure to thin them out, otherwise they will not grow well and will be just too small and tiny. Third lesson is cross-pollination. If you like to collect seeds, that's a great idea, but don't let more than one variety from the same family go to seed near each other. For example, I had this broccoli rub going to bloom next to my arugula, which is also from Brassica family. So they could have easily cross-pollinated if I didn't pull one of them out. Lesson number 4 is planning. You need to plan how many plants of each variety you want to grow and have in your garden. Last year I planted too many cherry variety tomatoes in my garden and not enough canning tomatoes or large tomatoes. I love cherry tomatoes for snacking or for salads, but you can't can them. They're too small. It's a lot of work if you want to preserve them. And for that reason, you need to grow large varieties. So my lesson is learned. This year I'm going to plant only a few of small fruiting tomatoes, and I'll plant a lot of canning varieties. Lesson number 5 is the size of plants or the height of plants. So last year I didn't plan good enough when I was planting these peppers. I planted them in the back, and in front of them were tall gladiolas growing, and they shaded out those bell peppers. They still produced, but I'm sure they would produce much more if they were in front of the gladiolas. Same with these cucumbers. These were Armenian long cucumbers which are great flavored cucumbers. I fell in love with them last year. It was my first time growing them, but I'm sure if I provided more support for them, they would produce much more fruit for me. So this year I'm planning to grow them on a bigger support, and I'm sure they'll grow well for me. Lesson number 6 is think about winter time. Last year I had a ton of basil. I had 16 varieties growing in my garden, and they were growing really good, and I had a ton of basil, more than we could eat as a family. And I didn't dry enough basil for winter. I didn't do anything with it to preserve for winter time. So I lost my chance, and now I wish I have done something, because we had so much basil that I could have done some basil pesto, or I could dry it and now use it in my cooking. So this year for sure I'm going to preserve basil for winter time. And the last lesson, number 7, is watering. I was neglecting my garden at some times in the summer when it was so hot. I didn't want to go outside, but it's so important. I'm sure I would harvest much more if I was watering my garden regularly.